Hello friends, so today I'm going to teach you how to use Cheerio, which is this JavaScript library to parse HTML, and we use it mainly for web scraping. Web scraping, for those who don't know, is getting information from websites using code and automating processes so you can access websites and retrieve the information you need and structure in a way that can be useful later. So about a year ago I created this news aggregator. Basically it's a news aggregator about veganism and vegetarianism, animal rights, and it has news from 8 different newspapers, and you can sort articles by categories. So the purpose of this is that you have information about a subject from different sources, and to be able to have all this information, I'm using web scraping. It's through an algorithm, a web scraping algorithm, that I can fetch all these news from the websites, and then I can store them in my database with a title, a description, date, the source, an image, and also the link. If you click on the article, you will be redirected to the page. So okay, I will show you really quick how this project is working. This is connected to an API that I also created. I can access the API here like this. And if we click on this route, all articles, you can see I have 1,724 articles so far. And the only way we can do this non-manually, it would be a hell if we were storing the articles manually in our database, right? So we need an automated process, and we use web scraping for that. So in this case, this API allows you to sort the articles by categories, by newspapers. You can also, there is a route for searching articles, and also there is pagination. Anyway, let me show you. This is my server code, and basically here I'm using Mongoose to connect with my database, which is a MongoDB database. And here I'm connecting to my database. I'm using my credentials here from my .m file, and once I connect it, I will execute this script called update database. And this is the script which is using Cheerio and Axios to visit the websites and then store them, as I will show you. For instance, this function get BBC articles, I will go to this page, I will get the HTML from the page, then I will initialize Cheerio using this method, cheerio.load. And then for every link that contain one of these keywords here, for every link that contain one of these keywords in the text, I will get the information I want: the title, the URL, the text, image, and here I'm doing some logic to transform this information, to validate, and then I will store it in my database like this. So let me show you this working. I will run the project. So npm start. So it's running, it's connected to the database, and now I'm trying to fetch information. I'm getting errors. Sometimes that happen when, for instance, I'm trying to insert an article that already exists in my database. It's a duplicate article, so I get this error. Also, if the website blocks your access because you are making too many requests, you can get a forbidden error. And I just ran this algorithm. I don't know if I was able to add any new article this time. I should also rewrite this algorithm, this web scraping algorithm, because I wrote it last year, and the website structure, sometimes it changes over time. And when the structure of the website changes, you need to code your web scraping algorithm from scratch sometimes. So let's see here if Veganisaurus was updated. So here, yeah, it was. This was in the first page. As you can see, this is the 23 of June, so it's very recent. So I was able to add these articles just now when I run this algorithm here. So I will show you how to create a web scraping algorithm so you can use it. Like, there are so many different possible applications of web scraping. You can use, as I am doing, to create a news aggregator, but the applications are endless. You could feed a database with information from the web that later you can use on machine learning. Also, you could use web scraping to extract data from e-commerce websites, also to extract data from social media and make all sorts of things. So enough said, let's get done with this introduction. I will create a directory for our project. Let's call scrapping NIT, because as an example, I want to scrap this website here, because I will use this code later, because my web scraping algorithm for the New York Times is outdated. It's not working anymore and I need to update it anyway, so I will do it as an example for this tutorial. Alright, so I created the director. To follow this tutorial, you need Node installed. Let's create a new Node project with npm init. And we'll just say I am the author, and this is okay. I will open it in VS Code. This time I don't intend to use Axios to make the GET requests to the websites, because we really don't need it. We can use just the fetch API, which is native to Node. So yeah, let's start this project. The first thing I want to do, I want to install Cheerio. I will use yarn, so yarn add Cheerio, but if you are using any npm, you can use npm install Cheerio. Alright, so now that we have Cheerio, let's create a file, call it index.js, just to make sure this is working. Hi. Let's execute this with Node, so Node index.js. Yes, it's working. Right, so let's import Cheerio. In this case, I want to store the articles in a JSON file. I won't store it in my database just yet, but I will use a local JSON file first, just to be sure that we are getting the correct information from the New York Times website. And for that I will also need path. We need to know what is the current directory. The current directory, you can find out using the method join from path, and you just say process.cwd, which means I'm joining the place where the process is being run from. So when you execute this program, this is referring to the process of the program, and then you have the path from the context where the process is being run from. And then we can join with a string, which will be our JSON file, and I will call it articles.json. Let's say instead of current directory, I will say JSON file path. Alright. Now we need the URL from where we are fetching the articles. This is this URL right here. This should be a string. Now let's create an async function, call it getArticles, that we will call when this program is executed. So here I will call it getArticles. We are going to fetch the articles, we are going to fetch the HTML from this website. We are making a GET request, and we are going to parse the HTML using Cheerio. So just to make sure the exceptions are treated correctly, let's do a try catch error. I would say just console log. Alright, so let's use the fetch API to make the GET request, and we can get the HTML from the page calling the text method upon the response object that you get from the fetch. Okay, so the HTML from this page will be stored inside this const here, and then you can finally load Cheerio with the HTML. So just to show, okay, let's do this. So we use the $sign to Cheerio. This is like a convention. We use it as a selector of some kind to set. I will show you later how this works. And we need also an array of articles. From every article that we are getting from the page, we are going to push into this array. Alright, so one thing that we need to do is to inspect the page and understand its structure. We want an article, right? So let's use the right button of your mouse, click on inspect, alright, so here I'm inspecting the paragraph of the article, which is, as you can see, is the description. I want the whole article, so you can see the parent element is this, but this is not including the date. You see there is the date here. I also want the date, so this is the parent element with the date, and this is inside an item from a list, as you can see. So every article in this page is an item of that list, and I can use that to isolate each article, so I can have the information about a specific article separated from the others by selecting one item each time. So this is the item I want, and as you can see, it has a class. This is the name of the class. We could try to see if there are other articles, if they have the same class as this one. And as you can see here, they all have the same class. So we can use the name of this class to select an article, and that is what I am going to do. I'm going to copy the class name, and now this is where the magic happens. So use the Cheerio $sign here, and you are going to pass an HTML selector, in this case a class. So for a class, you just need to write a dot in front of the class and then the name of the class. And for each element that belongs to this class, we want to run a function. And for now, I just want to print everything that I want to print on the console, all the text from the article, just to see if this is working or not. So we can do here, let's say, just to separate the articles, I will print a line like this, article. Then I can console.log. I can use this. So I'm using Cheerio.this. This keyword here, this, and the selected is referring to the element. So if you call this each function on an element and then you call this, you are referring to this. So I'm just going to print all the text from this. Let's save it and let's execute. Oh, before that I want to separate all the articles, so let's just print a line here to mean that article ended. So end. Alright. So as you can see, this works. This is the first article, restaurant review, superiority burger, blah blah blah, by Pete Wells. And if we go to the page here, you can see this is exactly the article we wanted. And then the following articles, they are here. So everything, we are getting the information from the website, but we want to structure it in a way that is organized so we can store it in our database. We want the title, we want the link, we want the image, the description, and so far. I will show you how to use Cheerio to separate all this information from this element. So before we do that, just note that here we are not printing the date, and we wanted to have the date as well. And sometimes if you can't get something from the HTML using Cheerio, it might be possible that this date here, it's not in the original HTML content. This date is being inserted later by JavaScript. So you can only get using Cheerio the HTML, the original HTML content. If there is content in the page that was injected with JavaScript, then you can't access it with Cheerio. And that's when you should use a library called Puppeteer, which allows you to interact with the website as if you would do normally in a browser, but using code. And this is the case here. For instance, when you scroll down, you can see that more articles are loaded when you scroll. And this happens through JavaScript. So every time I scroll down, the application realizes I'm scrolling, and they're using JavaScript to inject more articles. But if I fetch the website like this, I just get those first articles that are on the original HTML page. So using fetch and Cheerio, you won't be able to fetch those articles here that are injected with JavaScript, but you can do it with Puppeteer. I won't teach you how to use Puppeteer this time, but that might be a topic for a future video, just so we know if this is what you should use if you want to do some sophisticated web scraping. But Cheerio is very good, like for simple things, it's very powerful, even though it has its limitations. Alright, so now that we have all the articles here, we want to structure an article. We want the fields of an article, the title, description, image, etc. And to do that, we need to know the elements we are searching, the child elements of this element, the child elements of an article. So let's again inspect this. And an easy way to study the structure of the HTML is to select the parent element, like this. This is the article, right? That we are selecting. You click on copy, alter HTML. Let's go to our project. Let's create a new HTML file here. Let's just start a basic HTML page structure. Let's paste the code we just copied from the website. In my computer is Command-Shift-I to ident the code. And now we can see how the code is organized. And now we can use the information here to parse the HTML correctly and get the information we want. So the first thing, we want the title. And where is the title? Here. It's here. You can see it's an h3 element. And so inside the item, we have an h3 element, which is the title. You can look, there is no other h3 element inside this item here, which is the one we are parsing. So if this is the only one h3 element, we can just select it by the type of the element, and we will get the information we need. So we can say const title is equals to this parent element, and inside the parent element we want to find an h3 element, and then we want the text from this element. And I will just console log here so you can see that this works. Title. I will run the code again. And as you can see, I am getting the title from the articles as I wanted. Now, using the same kind of logic, we can get the other information. Let's erase this. Okay, so we have the title. We want the description. Where is the description? It's here. It's a paragraph. By the way, you could also use the classes, but as you can see, sometimes you need to know what is the most reliable way to isolate a certain element that you want, and this way, by specifying the type of the element, in this case a paragraph, it's easier because it's the only paragraph inside the parent element. There is only one paragraph here, which is the description. So just as we did for the header, which is the title, we can do const description, find paragraph, and I want the text. I will console log description plus title. Okay, I also want an image, right? The image URL. And let's see here, how can I get the image URL? Where is the image? It's here, it seems. It's this long string here. Yeah, this is the element we want, image. And we want the source, which is this very long link here. So let's just check if this is the image of the article. I can copy, I can paste it on my browser to see if this will work. Yeah, this is the image from the article. So going back to our script, make sure this is the only image inside the parent element. Yes, it is. If this is the only image, we can access the image just like we did for the other elements. But we don't want the text in this time, right? We want the source of the image. So you can use the attribute method from Cheerio, and you specify that you want the source attribute. That will give you the image link. We also want the author. We also want the article URL. So let's see. We can get the author from this span right here, and it has this class. I think it's the only place where this class happens. Let's see. Yep. We need to make sure that all the authors have the same class. Oops, I didn't. It's not what I wanted. So let's try here. We'll inspect this. And this is the exact same string I had before. Yes, this is the same class. So all the authors are inside this span with this class. So I can use the class to get the author. Let's try const author this dot find, and this is the class. I want the text from it. Just let's print the things we just got to see if we are getting them. Image and author. We'll save, and now we'll run program. So we have the title, the description, the image, and the author. Okay, this is working. Good. We want also the article URL. How can we get the link of the article? The link is here, and as you can see, it's a relative link. This is just what comes after New York Times dot something. So let's just so when we click on an article, we go to newyorktimes.com and then to this relative URL, and this is what we get from this link right here. So we have to concatenate the URL that we get here, the relative URL, with the absolute URL, the prefix, in this case newyorktimes.com. So how can we do that? Let's get first the relative URL. This dot find, it's a link, it's the only link inside the parent element, and we want the href attribute from this element, just for coherence with or not. So now that we have the relative URL, we also have the absolute URL. Const URL is this prefix, and we are already getting a slash there, so we don't need this last slash here, plus relative URL. Okay, I think this will work. And we also want the date. And remember that when we try to print the date from the articles, we were not being able to do it because it was being injected later with JavaScript. It's not present in the original HTML content from the page. But we can try anyway. I am inspecting the date. I have here a span, which is inside this div with this class. So let's copy the class here. And let's see if it's the same class as we have here. As you can see, this is the same class here and here. So all the dates elements, this div where you have the text with the date, they have the same class. And we can use the class to select the element. So let's try this. Const date this dot find, and this is the class. It's two different classes, so the way you do it is like this: the first class and the second class, and then you want the text, and let's log it. So URL date. Alright, so we have the links here. I think this is right. Let's just copy. Oh, I can alt click this. Copy. Let's paste this here. Yeah, this is the correct link, so it's working. The only thing it's not working is the date, for the reasons we explained before. So we can't get the date from the original HTML of the page. But if you notice something, on the URL itself we have the date here. This is like a convenient thing for us. We don't need to access the date from the HTML. We can, if we already have the URL. So if we have this relative URL, we also have the date. So instead of doing this, I'm going to say date is the relative URL dot substring starts at 0. Wait, starts at 1 because we have the first character is the slash, and after the slash we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. We are going up to 11 because we exclude the last character always in the substring method. So now we have the date. Let's console log date. Let's save. Let's execute it. And here it is, our article with title, description, image, author, URL, and date. And now that you have all this information, instead of printing on the console, we want to store it, right? You could store it in a database, or in this case, we are going to store it locally. So we have this articles array here. And we have title, description, image, author, URL, and date. So we are going to push to articles an object with all the fields that we have just extracted. Right, so now we have the articles being pushed to the array, And after this, after we parsed all the articles and we store them in the array, we want to store them in our JSON file locally. This that will be stored in this file path here. So we are going to use file system promises for that. But first we need the array as a string. So let's say articles as string, json.stringify, and we pass the articles as argument. And then we can call file system promises to write file to the JSON file path, and we are writing the articles as string. Now I'm saving this. Let's just open here. As you can see, we have nothing there. I'm going to run the program, and a file was just created here. Now let's Command Shift I, and now we have all our articles here looking good. So that's it. I hope you learned something. This is a very fun thing to do, web scraping, and use it responsibly. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe.